So if you did not know, Edge Magazine was actually able to get a copy of Super Mario Odyssey, and they actually published their review for it. Their review gave the game a perfect 10 out of 10 score, but there was some other information hidden inside of the review that I found even more interesting than that, although I'm going to talk about all of it within this video. So when they talk about the amount of moons that are in Super Mario Odyssey, they actually compare it to the amount of Korok seeds that are within the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now if you've never played Breath of the Wild or even researched it at all, you would still know that it's a big game, and if you do not know, the amount of Korok seeds that are actually in there is 900. So with Edge saying in their review that there will be slightly less moons in Super Mario Odyssey than there were Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild, I think 800 moons is a very conservative estimate in terms of how many moons there will be in the game. And this number is absolutely astounding. It's incredible that there could be 800 moons inside of the game, because it kind of contradicts some information that we knew previously. So before, we were told that the larger kingdoms within the game would have 30 to 50 moons in them, around that number. Some of them exceed it, like the Sand Kingdom, which has 69, as we previously talked about. But let's just say, for instance, that every kingdom that we know of within the game has around 30 moons. It's a good estimate, factoring in some kingdoms that have a lower amount and some kingdoms that have a higher amount. Let's divide that into the 800, where we get 26.666. Does this mean that there will be around 27 kingdoms within the game? This is absolutely crazy. Now, this could just mean that some kingdoms will be absolutely packed with content, so we won't be getting as many new kingdoms as this number would suggest. However, this 800 moon estimate figure is definitely something to consider when you talk about the size of the game. The file size of Super Mario Odyssey is definitely not the best way to talk about the size of the title. 5.7 gigabytes doesn't seem that large when you initially think about it, but Nintendo has really good compression software, as we've seen with Breath of the Wild, that they can get Breath of the Wild, a gigantic game, into around 13 gigabytes of storage. So, Super Mario Odyssey is probably a large game as well, and by now their compression software is probably improved, so they could condense more content into the smaller file size, which is a lot of content if you would consider it to be around 800 moons in the game. Again, I'm not saying this is confirmed or anything like that. It could be less than 800, it could even be more than 800. However, this review saying that it's slightly less than the amount of Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild would definitely lead people to think something like this. Now I want to touch on the 10 out of 10 review score. Them giving Super Mario Odyssey a perfect score definitely means a lot. It's not about the source or whoever's reviewing it or anything like that. To give a game a 10 out of 10, you must consider it to be perfect and pretty much flawless. And while in the review they do talk about some flaws, they state that the good outweighs the bad. And that's definitely a good point to talk about. Now, this is one person's opinion, one company's take on how Super Mario Odyssey is. However, a 10 out of 10 review definitely means that we could expect this to be a great entry in the Mario series. Even if you discount all of the great information that we've already known about pre-release and just look at it as a blank slate like we know nothing about it, knowing that a company gave it a 10 out of 10 review score definitely tells us something, and it should be convincing you if you are apprehensive as to whether you want to purchase Super Mario Odyssey or not. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a must-have title for the Nintendo Switch, and you're going to want to add it into your library. However, those two items that I talked about are still not the only notable aspects of this review. In fact, there is some information about story, and from a trailer that we got a couple days ago, information about a new kingdom within the game. Although I'm going to talk about the new kingdom in my next video, I will touch on some of the elements of the story within this one. So, if you don't want to know anything about the story of Mario Odyssey, I advise you to click off of this video and subscribe if you're new to the channel for more Odyssey updates as they come. However, the story details that I'm going to be talking about here are not too significant. I don't think it's going to ruin the story for you or anything like that. However, it's definitely something that is pretty important. They say here, and I quote, "Peach, for her part, is no damsel in distress, and her role expands in the post-game, although not in the way you might expect." Now, obviously, as we know, Peach is the damsel in distress that gets kidnapped at the start of the game by Bowser, and they state in this review that you'll fight Bowser multiple times throughout the game, and the boss fights within it are really good. And the concept of this game is a forced wedding. That's the plot line of it. They also say that the lasting image within this game is very significant and will change the lore of the Mario series, so I think we could pretty much assume that at the end of the game, as expected, Mario will finally marry the princess, which is very significant. However, this point that I just quoted from the article saying that Peach Peach is not just a damsel in distress in the post-game not only confirms that there's post-game content, probably when you'll explore the Isle Delfino and Mushroom Kingdoms within the game, but also leads me to believe that maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to play as Peach in the post-game, in a similar way to how you could unlock new characters to play after you've completed Mario games in the past. However, this says not in a way you may expect, and this just could be trying to confuse us, but I also think that this may tell us that she's not going to be playable, and she's going to get an even more significant role at the end of the game. Now, this ties in to the original point that I said at the beginning of the video. This theory that I'm going to talk about now is some theory that I have ties into the first point that I talked about in this video about the 800 moons. Maybe in the post-game of Super Mario Odyssey, Peach will assign you new missions to get new moons within the existing kingdoms. And this could be a reason for the larger amount of kingdoms than we expected to be in the game. These will be new moons added to existing kingdoms within the game. Now, this is just a theory that I have. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about what this situation entails, what this statement really means, that it's in a role that you might not expect. Peach's role in the post-game, although it gets more significant. Now, in terms of this screenshot from the new Japanese trailer that we got for Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario is running around past a bonsai bill in a lava-themed area, I'm just going to talk about those ideas that I have for it in my next Super Mario Odyssey video, which should be coming out tomorrow. I really appreciate all the support lately, guys. I might have to tone down the amount of Super Mario Odyssey uploads coming out lately because the game's release is so near, and almost every video that I'm making gets disproven within the next couple of days after I finish editing it. So I really can't balance out the amount of uploads that'll be coming out here. I'm not a general news channel. I try to add some value and speculate about the content, but when my ideas get disproven, I can't really post the videos. But thanks for watching. Here's the link to my brutal theory on the screen right now, and I'll see you next time.